Thank you for tuning in to the all-new Automobile Enthusiast channel, Me and Mine TV, right here on YouTube. The only Automobile Enthusiast channel on YouTube that you, the fans, control. I'm your host, DV. You can follow myself and the show at the Twitter handle showed on your screen. And if you follow, we follow back. And what you are about to see is a brief montage of what you can expect over the coming weeks right here on Me and Mine TV. Now, how we're going to kick off this channel, how we're going to kick off this series is with an American icon. Because ever since the mid-1960s when this car was revealed, it became the true definition of an overnight success. Because everybody at that time had to have one. And it made every other American auto manufacturer at that time stand up and take notice. Because with its creation, it created its own car segment known as the muscle car. And in doing so, it created its own entire car era known as the muscle car era. And ever since the mid-1960s all the way up into the present day, there have been countless incarnations of muscle cars. Some good, some bad, and some that we Americans wish we probably never would have invented. But since then, up until this very moment, there has always been three. Three muscle cars that have always remained head and shoulders above the rest. And here in 2015, there are the only three remain. The Dodge Challenger, the Chevrolet Camaro, and the Ford Mustang. 4, 3, 2, kick it! Now, what we're going to do over the coming weeks is we are going to test these cars to truly figure out what in 2015 they each have to offer. But most especially, we are going to try to figure out which of the three here in 2015 is the best muscle car America makes. Because today, we're going to start with the iconic Ford Mustang, and next week, we are going to conclude with the legendary Chevrolet Camaro. But hold on, because I know what some, maybe most, if not all of you are thinking. But wait a second here. You just said 10 seconds ago that there's three muscle cars here in 2015. The Dodge Challenger, the Chevrolet Camaro, and the Ford Mustang. But yet you're only going to test the Ford Mustang and the Chevrolet Camaro? Yes, you're exactly right. Because let's be real for a moment here. Ever since the Dodge Challenger was reintroduced, it has been the least selling, the least desirable, and the least performing of the three. So I'm pretty certain that even if I were to test that car, it would come in third, because third place seems to be the rightful, the anointed place of the Dodge Challenger. But hold on. I know exactly what each and every Dodge and Mopar fans are thinking. But what about the Hell Kitty? 700 plus supercharged horsepower, the most powerful, the fastest American muscle car ever made. Let me give you a hand clap, because Mustang, Camaro fans, back me up on this. Although Dodge and Mopar fans, you have the fastest, overall muscle car, you don't have the best overall muscle car. Because I know in our opening montage, I know in our trailer you saw a couple of shots of a red Dodge Challenger. But the reason why those shots are there are to appease you Dodge and you Mopar fans. Because we all know what Dodge and Mopar fans sound like when they're not invited to the party. And they all sound a bit like this. And I rest my case. But rather than me sit here and continue to ramble, rather than me sit here and continue to put Dodge and Mopar fans in their place, let me go ahead and do what it is we do here on Me and Mine TV. And that's strap in, strap up. Let's go for another ride, baby. So here we are in the 2015 Ford Mustang GT. And now that I've hopped in this car for the past couple of minutes, trying to get a feel for what this car is, I have to be a little honest here. I'm not impressed, nor am I disappointed, because I've driven countless Ford products before. My family's owned countless Ford products, so I kind of knew what to expect before I even hopped in this car. And trying to get a feel for what this car feels like in its personality, the ride of this car is firm. I won't say it's hard or uncomfortable, it's just firm. It still feels pretty good, but let's not get this confused with a freaking big body Benz. It is a muscle car and it's going to feel like a muscle car. And checking out the interior of this car, I'm definitely not impressed. And I do mean that in every sense of the word, because being a car nut, interiors of Ford Motor Company's products, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Ford, Lincoln, Mercury, Aston Martin, Jaguar, and I can go on about all the car companies that used to be part of Ford and car companies that are still part of Ford. Interiors have never been Ford's strong suit. I mean, in this car, I don't like it. I mean, I rarely say that about cars, but I honestly and genuinely do not like this interior of this car for a couple reasons. I'm not a big fan of plastic, and I'm hugely against the excessiveness of plastic. And in this car, all it is plastic. I mean, that's all you see is plastic. And you have a little long piece of fake aluminum looking carbon fiber wannabe piece here on the dashboard, and it throws off completely the look of this car. And me personally, when I look at the interior of this car, all I can see is that hideous silver piece here on the dashboard. I mean, I understand, like I said, we're not talking about no big body Benz here, and I'm not expecting leather or Alcantara, but at least if I'm paying 43 grand out the door for a Mustang, give me something that is a bit more appealing. Second issue that I have with this car, I am not a big fan of a complicated interior. I'm not a big fan of a complicated steering wheel. I'm not a big fan of a complicated center console. And this car has both of them. Because on the steering wheel, we got 20 freaking buttons on the steering wheel. And I don't know about you, but I know about me. If I'm driving, whether on the highway or the back road, I'm trying to enjoy my time, the last thing I want to do is be doing this while I'm driving, trying to figure out what button does what. Because in my opinion, the buttons aren't where they should be. I mean, the cruise is where it is, but everything else isn't. And me personally, it gets rather quite annoying, because the last thing I want to do when I'm looking at a steering wheel is look at all the freaking buttons, because this really is a nice steering wheel. You take the buttons off, it is very, very nice. I would say that. But now they got buttons everywhere on the steering wheel, and you got the turn signals and the wiper functions on the back. It just makes it look cluttered and complicated. And when we're talking about the center console here, I mean, you got like freaking almost 30 buttons here on the center console. And again, I don't want to be doing this when I'm driving, trying to figure out what button does what. I mean, there are easier ways to simplify things so people can understand immediately what it is that they're doing. The only part of this interior that I really like is the dashboard. The dashboard is pretty damn good, I will have to say that, because you got the RPMs on the left, you got the speedometer on the right, and you got a little center display readout screen of time, mileage, MPGs, and so on and so forth. And it really looks pretty good. That is like the best part of this car. The thing that I'm going to gripe on, because I think it's one of the most important things of an interior, are these seats. And these seats are like freaking rocks. And like, I won't say that they're not comfortable. They're just, really? You had to make them like this? Because these seats feel like racing seats. I mean, they hug and they can turn my body very, very well. I will have to say that. And I know if I'm taking a turn, you know, at high speeds or it's a real tight turn, these seats will hold me. But I don't want to feel it every second that I'm driving. I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm in a race car every second that I'm driving, because this is a muscle car. Or at least that's what it's supposed to be. It's not a sports car. It's not a Corvette or a Viper or a Porsche or whatever. In those cars, I can totally understand the feel of the seats feeling like that. But in a $42,000 Mustang muscle car, I don't think it's supposed to feel like that. But, you know, I've only been in this car for 10 minutes now, and I'm already starting to gripe about it. You know, I still haven't got really accustomed to this car, and maybe that's the way that I'm feeling now. I'm just hoping later on in this test drive, my opinions of this car change, because as it stands right now, I'm not really feeling the 2015 Ford Mustang GT. When it comes to the styling of the 2015 Ford Mustang GT, I would have to start by saying this. They did it right. Because they say it's an all-new design. No, it's not. No, it's not. I'd say it's an updated, refreshed look of the Mustang. Because if you were to take a 14 Mustang and put it up against a 15 Mustang, you would see they are strikingly similar. The hood is more sculpted. It's more low-hung, but it's also more aggressive. And that's what I like compared to the previous model, because the previous model, it was bulky and just out there and in your face and here I am, and that just didn't work for me. But the only part of this car, like most cars that they redesigned today, especially with the new Corvette, which we will get to later, everything on this car is nice, but the rear end. Why is that? Because look at the new Corvette. The new Corvette is beautiful until you get to the rear end. Just like the new Mustang GT is beautiful until you get to the rear. Why? Somebody tell me why. I mean, they couldn't make a complete, stylish, beautiful, intoxicating exterior for the Ford Mustang GT. They can't do that. I mean, Ford made the beautiful Ford GT. Beautiful car. And now they're coming out with the new GT, which is even better than the old one. So Ford knows what they're doing when it comes to styling. But you mean to tell me with this car, the pinnacle, the icon of your manufacturing history, the Ford Mustang GT, the car that started the muscle car era, the car that initiated muscle cars, and you mean to tell me after dang near 50 years, you built the most beautiful one out of them all, but you mess up the rear end? Come on, Ford, you're better than that. This ain't amateur hour. Come on now. I know I'm a Chevy guy, but I still give props where props is due. I mean, this car is beautiful. I mean, it looks good standing still, as long as you don't catch it from the back. Because from the front, it's like Scarlett Johansson or Beyonce. You go to the back, it's like Roseanne Barr. I mean, get away from me. But that's my opinion. I mean, they could have tweaked it or scoped it a little differently or a little bit better. Come on, Ford, you're better than that. You know, cruising around here in the back parts of southern Atlanta in the 2015 Ford Mustang GT, I think the best way that I could describe this car so far, it's simple. It's easy. It's really simplistic. I mean, I have yet to feel hesitant in this car. I've yet to feel nervous in this car. I mean, everything about this car is easy and simplistic. It's easy to maneuver. It's easy to handle. It's easy to drive. I mean, I don't know if that was Ford's intent when they built the 2015 Ford Mustang, but this car is very, very easy. It's like that Staples button on the Staples commercial. It's like you tap it and everything's easy. And personally, and this is only a personal preference from my point, that takes the fun and the joy away of owning a Ford Mustang, because it's a muscle car. It's supposed to be muscle car-ish, you know what I mean? It's supposed to feel like a muscle car. And so far, in 42 minutes now that I'm driving it, it doesn't feel like a muscle car. I mean, it feels sporty, I will say that, but it doesn't have that tried, true, and tested feel of a muscle car. It really doesn't. I've driven older Mustangs, and those cars somewhat felt like a muscle car, but this car, it doesn't. It feels like I know this will sound completely bad to Mustang fans out there, but it feels like you're driving a Honda Civic. I mean, that's how easy and simplistic this car is. And like I said, I'm just cruising around at 40 miles an hour in fourth gear at 2,000 RPM. And the car doesn't give me the feeling. It doesn't give me the sensation or the urge to want to go harder, to want to go faster. It feels completely calm and content driving around at 40 miles an hour. And again, that is a downgrade in my book, because muscle cars are not meant to give you the feel of, oh no, just take me around easy on the turn and, you know, let's just cruise at 40 miles an hour. Muscle cars are meant to give you the feel, the urge, and the desire to do stupid, to drive crazy, to act silly. I mean, that's the whole point of a muscle car. But this car, I'm sorry, in the 40 some odd minutes that I've been driving this car, I have yet to get the feel of a muscle car. I mean, it doesn't feel like one. And taking these slow, tight turns at a good rate of speed, it feels more like a sports car. You know what I mean? And maybe, again, I don't know if Ford actually purposely built that in to the Mustang, because since Ford doesn't make a car to compete with the Chevrolet Corvette, I think the Ford Mustang kind of has to pull double duty. It has to be a muscle car, but it still has to have some sports car feel to it, so that people who don't want to buy a Chevrolet Corvette can come over to Ford and get a Ford Mustang and get the sensation of a muscle car and a sports car. But so far, since I've been driving it, I don't sense muscle car. I don't feel muscle car. I don't get muscle car. I feel, sense, and get sports car. And that's not what the Ford Mustang is. And I'm starting to get a little irritated, to be quite honest with you. And hopefully, you know, when I throw this thing around later in the day, maybe my opinion might change. Maybe it will give me that muscle car feel and not that sports car feel. But there's only really one way to figure that out. So let's go ahead and talk about some performance and see what this car got. Now, when it comes to performance, it's a muscle car. So of course it got it. But what are we talking about here? We have a 435 horsepower, 5-liter V8 engine. You can get that with, of course, a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic, with the power always going to the rear wheels. 0 to 60 times coming in the mid 4 seconds. Now, when it comes to performance here, this car is riding on 18-inch rims. Can somebody tell me why? Because with the Challenger and the Camaro, you can get 20s. I guess Ford wanted to be the smaller of the group. Whatever tickles their fancy. Now, when it comes to the brakes, up front you get 13.inch 9.4 piston calipers, and in the rear you get 13-inch single piston calipers. We haven't had the chance to test them out, but that's what we are about to do. Because I know most of you are probably sitting there saying to yourself, we don't want to talk about what the Ford Mustang has. We don't want it to be standing still, because we won't get a great picture. So what we are going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and take this car over to a road that I absolutely adore. Now, it's not as fancy, it's not as tricky as some of the roads that you can find here in the South, but it is pretty damn good, because we got straightaways, we got tight turns, we got hill jumps, we basically got it all. So rather than me sitting here and talking about how much power and how much torque and 0 to 60 times, let me go ahead and put this car in gear, take it over to the road, so we can see how the 2015 Ford Mustang GT gets down when he shows us some corners. So here we are, about to come up to the road that I was telling you all about. to see how the 2015 Ford Mustang GT stacks up when you throw us some corners. We're going to see about the brakes. We're going to see about this 6-speed transmission, the horsepower, the low-end torque. But rather than talk, let's go for it. Already at 60. See how we go. Hey, she's hugging these roads. In the fourth, 70 miles an hour. Taking it to the turn. This is too easy. Come on. 75 miles an hour. Fourth gear, 4,200 RPM. Man, she is eating these corners up. It's too easy. This is too easy. That back end's too planted. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, this is simplistic. Here we go with the hill jump. On the brakes. Yeah, them brakes are good. Woohoo, yes! Rev matching is easy. 80 miles an hour, 85 miles an hour, 5,000 RPM. Taking it to the corner. Damn, she's hugging it. She's hugging these corners, baby. That ass end is planted to the ground. Oh, and we are done. See, that was about 35 seconds right there, ladies and gentlemen. 35 seconds. Okay. Initial impressions. Ford Mustang GT taking that tight turn. I mean, taking those turns. First word that comes to my mind. Easy. Like I was sitting there saying to myself, it's too easy. It's too simplistic. I mean, the car was doing the work for me. You know, as you can see, I never felt hesitant. You know, I was never cautious. I didn't feel like, oh no, I don't feel it. I mean, I felt completely confident, and I felt I had the ability because the car was doing the majority of the work for me. And like I was saying, I was hoping that my opinion would change when we were just cruising around, when I actually throwing in some corners, that it would actually make me think it was a muscle car, but it doesn't. I mean, really, it doesn't. I mean, this car is a sports car. The accent was too planted. The steering was too crisp. The gear shifts were too easy. The rev matching was simplistic. The handling of this car, I probably could have drove those turns with one freaking finger on the steering wheel because it truly was that easy. I mean, it was truly that easy. Now we're about to take it over to a tight S-turn that I love to take in my car. And will I get the same feeling through that tight S-turn that I did just with the long road that we just took? Hopefully not. Only one way to find out. So here we are, about to come up to the tight S-turn that I love to take in my car. Now, this turn is really tight. It has two quick right and left-hand turns. It's rated at 35. In my car, I like to take it in right around 55. Coming up to the turn. Let's see what she's got. Third gear. 70 miles an hour. 5,000 RPM. Here we go. Will she hug it? So down, throw her in. Oh man, it's freaking easy. Just for a little squirmish. Man, it back in. Oh, yeah. Feels like a sports car. Feels like a sports car. I mean, that is too easy. I mean, it's too easy. Yes, it's fun. Very fun. But it feels like a sports car. I mean, I can't sit here and say anything that I haven't already said, because if I did, I'd just be repeating myself. I mean, this car feels like a sports car. It really does. It's too precise. It's too agile. It's too quick. I know how this is going to say. It's too good. It really is too good. But I'm not paying for a sports car. Whoa, what the freak is going? Uh-oh. Something has just went wrong.
Now we're about to get on the highway with the Mustang 5.0. Third gear, 65. Let's do it. 80 miles an hour from 60 in about 2 seconds. Not bad. Not bad. It's American muscle for you right there, baby. And after driving around the road for the past 3, maybe 4 minutes, I've learned a couple things rather quickly. One, she's comfortable. She's quiet. She's enjoyable to drive. She's got a pretty good ride too. And even though she's a muscle car and supple is not in her vocabulary, she's not one of those. She doesn't have one of those rides where if you roll over a pebble the size of a toenail, you're going to be stopping immediately, looking for an ambulance to go to your chiropractor. It's not like that. She's comfortable. I can see myself taking a long distance ride with her. Oh yeah, she's that comfortable. She's got that much room. But also, the other thing that I learned, boy oh boy, she don't have a split personality. Because although she is quiet, although she is comfortable, drop a gear, hit the gas, she comes alive. Let me slow down. I don't want to get a ticket here. And the noise coming from those pipes, oh my goodness, it is intoxicating. She has that low end rumble when you're just cruising around town or going through the back roads. Come on the highway, get on the loud pedal, drop a couple gears. Yeah, she comes alive. She wants everybody to know she's here. She wants everybody to feel her presence. She's pretty good. I like her. The way that cars are going now, whether it's muscle cars, whether it's cars like the Corvette or the Nissan GTR, any Porsche you can think of, and especially the more super and hyper cars, they're taking all the responsibility, well, I won't say all of it, but they're taking most of the responsibility away from the drivers. They're not letting us, in essence, be stupid. And being stupid is fun. You know, just as long as you don't go overboard. Being stupid is fun. Where in the Mustang, you can't be stupid because it won't let you. Because one thing, in my humble opinion, as a car lover and a diehard sports car fan, the Mustang, to me, leaves a lot to be wondered about. It leaves a lot to the imagination. And I don't know if it was deliberate. I don't know if Ford purposely built that into the Mustang. But where the Mustang loses me compared to the Camaro, compared to other sports cars and muscle cars today, they're taking the fun away from being the driver. And I mean that in this way. Look at everything that goes on and intertwines and culminates into making a sports car or a muscle car, a supercar, or a hypercar. What's the first thing they say? Technology. Oh, we've created this system to help the car handle better in a turn, or we created another dynamic driving system so the driver can just flip a switch and the car does all the work. Where's the fun in that? I mean, where's the fun being behind the wheel of a sports car or a muscle car when all you gotta do is flip a button and the car does everything for you? Where's the fun in that? Because driving this car, whether it's been on the back roads, whether it's being on the highways, one thing I've learned about this car, and one thing I feel about this car, I don't feel fear. I don't feel hesitation when I'm driving this car. Because I don't know how to say this any other way than I'm about to say it. I don't respect the Ford Mustang because I don't fear it. It doesn't make me hesitate, wonder, or pause when I'm driving it. Because I know, just by driving it, that I can take a turn that's rated at 30 miles an hour at 60 miles an hour and the car will do all the work for me. And I don't like that. I don't like being a piece of the car. I don't like being a bystander. And I know that I don't want to downgrade the Mustang too bit, but the way that cars are going today, most cars not being offered in a manual transmission, only the flappy pals like that come with an option on this car or the Camaro, and I'm pretty sure it's the same on the Dodge Challenger. But what's the point of being a driver in a car if you don't have any responsibility? If you're not a part of the driving experience and you're just sitting there just turning the wheel, la-di-da, oh no, you know, I won't hesitate taking this turn 10 miles faster than I know it would because I know the car can handle it. To some people that's fun. To some people it's not. It really comes down to whichever poison you decide to pick. Because me personally, look at this guy. That's what I don't understand about people with driver's license. Why would you pull out in a road that you're not supposed to pull out from and then give me the bird as I'm driving by because you don't know what you're doing? But anyway, back to the car. My problem with the Mustang, and a lot of other cars for that matter, is they're taking the experience away from driving them. And I really don't see any good in that. Because although the Mustang is a good car, and I will give it its props, it falls flat, in my opinion. It falls short. Because it won't let you be stupid. It won't let you do something you know you can't do or know that you're not supposed to do. Because this car will let you think you're being stupid. Just because, oh wow, I took that turn faster than I knew I should have. And rather than you getting the satisfaction like, hey, I just did that. No, the Mustang don't do that. The Mustang is like, no, you didn't do it, I did it. And that's where it loses me. It doesn't give me the satisfaction in knowing that when I took that S-turn in the country roads, 20 miles an hour faster than I know I should have, and 20 miles an hour faster than it was rating, I knew I wasn't the one doing it. I mean, yeah, I was getting thrills and, whoo, I need to slow down, I don't want to get a ticket, so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, if I owned this car, after doing that and putting it in the garage, I know when I sat down in my living room, I would be sitting there thinking to myself, that wasn't me. It wasn't me. And I don't like that. I'm greedy. I'm selfish. I want the satisfaction. I want to get the gratitude. I want people to come and be like, man, you're a good driver. I saw how you took that turn and you handle it. Oh man, ooh, man, you were good. I like that. Rather than getting out of the car like, oh man, that Mustang is a sweet ride. Oh man, it handles so perfectly. It'll let you take it to the edge. Oh man, she's good. I don't want that. I want me, myself, and I. That's what I'm looking for. And the Mustang, it doesn't offer you that. The Mustang is a me car, not a you car. But really, what do you want?